my past, because I also was not the best speaker growing up. I was a very shy kid. I was a homebody.
I'm still very shy.
Very shy. One day Derrick will come out of his shell. But I did find that if I could make something perfect, if I can memorize, that was the way that I could present. But that has its own problem, right? So although what was set up for you was to generate something new all the time in your childhood, mine was in this trail of perfection and get the A and get the A plus. It's memorize it perfectly. So I memorized a speech perfectly in 5th grade. That was in front of the whole school. And I remember going completely blank and having that millisecond of, this feels like a lifetime. And I don't even remember what happened. I think the teacher ushered me off the stage or somebody moved me. I was just so completely frozen. And I remember bawling.
You should talk to my therapist about this.
Send me this number. I mean, I've worked through it a few times, but clearly have not processed it, gentlemen. But I remember that humiliation, utter and complete humiliation.
It's the worst feeling too, right?
And I was not in control, because what I had counted on to deliver my message was memorizing it. And even as grown adults, whether we're going into a board pitch or we're going to be a guest on a podcast, or we're going to do a sales presentation, people do that. They memorize the words. They don't internalize the message or internalize the content. And then if one little thing goes wrong, you're done. You're done.
And I will tell you, I still struggle with this myself. And, and I think it probably drives Sam a little bit crazy that I still, when we're creating presentations, I'm like, I have to go create something new. Like I have to create the pyramid of priorities. I have to do, I can't just use my old content.
You have to generate.
And, but what I have learned now is this: I will go and I will create 10 new pieces of content, 10 new slides, 10 new memes, whatever it is, put that in there. And then when I get to the rehearsal, there's a point of me now that goes, hey dummy, 1 or 2 new things, but you got to have 80% that you can fall back on, that you are well rehearsed on, that you can do it, because they're not going to hit the way you want them to hit the first time.
Never.
Right? The first time out, I'm going to go, oh yeah, I gave the punchline too quickly, or I shouldn't have done this, or I should have set it up differently.
Or you thought it was brilliant, and then the audience is completely
the groaning, like I said,
not interested.
I gave this speech at ASU years ago, and it was a bunch of like sorority girls, and I said something, and they were like, that is the worst dad joke ever. And I was like, okay, this is not, talk about humiliating, standing in a bunch of all these women and be like, it's like, that's just not.
As we go, I know we've done a little bit of time machine. I want to go back to you, Sam, what you were sharing about. You heard something at home that just shook you to your core, and then you hear it again at school. Can you share a little bit of that with us?
Yeah. So growing up, one of my stepdad's favorite sayings was like, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure this out. And just over the years, I just internalized his critical, you're not doing this right. You're not doing that right. You're not good at this. And so I just felt inadequate. I felt dumb. And then I go to elementary school, and man, I remember timed math tests, and man, I would just sit there and panic. And then I would look around the room, and everybody else was filling them out.
Writing away.
And I was like, I'm broken. And then we started writing, and they would they finally pulled me aside and said, we need to test you for a learning disability. And I'm like, okay. And I was young. I was like 4th or 5th grade, and I didn't understand. And I remember after the learning disability test, they pulled me out of my classroom and they put me in a self-contained classroom. And this was in a small town in Arizona. And I just was like, I don't belong here. Like I know I'm broken, but I don't think I'm this broken.
Yeah.
And it was just so hard. And so I think my greatest fear is getting in front of an audience and then being like, this kid is stupid. This kid doesn't know what he's talking about.
Hearing that
tape. Yes.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, I work so hard to feel like I know what I'm talking about. And even then, I don't feel like I know what I'm talking about. And it's wild because I'll get in front of people and I'll speak and they're like, I literally, the first time I spoke to the Diamondbacks, one of the executives said, this is better than any TED Talk I've ever heard. Like, this is one of the most incredible things I've ever heard. And I'm like, oh, that's so cool. And then 10 minutes later, I'm like, I don't know what I'm talking about.
He must be full of shit.
Yeah.
No, he's not full of shit.
You ready? Let's go. Welcome to the process fix to help you see the bigger picture. Derrick Maines is the elixir, cutting waste away like scissor. Woo! Got a problem, he can solve it. He's an expert with the process, so for sure you'll see a profit. Bottom line profit. Analyze the work your people doing every day. Expose the inefficiencies getting in the way. Advise teach you how to automate, outsource, abbreviate, eliminate, innovate. Now there's more food up on your dinner plate.